Hello, everybody. Welcome to YouTube Live. I'm Will. We're here with Gusto's YouTube Live page. Amazing show for you here today. We're going to try to unpack a lot of information and a lot of resources that are accessible to you and your accounting firm and your clients during the next 60 minutes. So bear with us there. Really excited that you're here joining us live. If you have not subscribed to Gusto's YouTube channel, go down, click subscribe. We'll be doing more live events. And on top of that, as we continue to release resources around COVID-19 or just anything at Gusto, you'll get notified on Gusto's YouTube page because we try to create videos, tutorial videos and learning videos around everything that we try to do here at Gusto. Some housekeeping rules before we get started on today's event. Realize that we're live, so thanks for joining, but we are live. Bear with us as we work through this. That's why we're about 5 minutes late. We thought we went live, and we weren't. So here we are live, but you didn't experience that. If you have questions, post in the comments down below. If you go there now, there's actually a pin in the comments of some links that I linked out to Practice Ignition, Jirav, Karbon, so on and so forth. And so that'll be an amazing resource for you. If you go to the description of this live event, you'll also see some resources there. So also realize that not every question or comment we'll be able to respond to if there's a lot of people commenting on what's going on. And there are more resources to learn from. So you could visit either covid.resources.com or covid.gusto.com. You'll get some resources that direction. Or if you go to either of the app partners websites, they have their own COVID-related resources. We'll try to post those in the comments. So I'm here. Today's webinar, we're going to cover, hey guys, how's everyone doing? We're in 4 different locations, believe this or not. We pulled this off. YouTube Live in 4 different locations. Today, we're going to try to unpack the rapid response tech stack to help your clients during COVID-19. And what does this really mean for your practice, for your clients, in order to try to maintain a high level of service to your clients as you're working remotely? I'm Will. I'm the head of the account community here at Gusto. Really excited to empower a profession I love very, very much. And so, you know, that's been my MO ever since I've been in public accounting, ever since I graduated with a bachelor's and master's in accounting. I love accounting. I love this profession. So a time like this really is difficult for a lot of people, but it's also a great time for accountants to step up and become the advisor that they were born to be. So I'll let the fellas introduce themselves in order. So go for it, Blake.
All right. Thanks, Will. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Blake Oliver. I work at Jirav, which sounds a lot like giraffe, and I'm a CPA. I had my own small practice. I worked in a large practice, and I still have one client that is on Gusto on the side, Will, and you guys came through. We got the PPP money through Gusto.
There you go. Awesome.
Yes. $40,000 for my client, and it's going to help her keep like a dozen employees on payroll for the next 2 months. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah, came through in a big way. So great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Hey, Josh Lance, head of accounting at Practice Ignition, also managing director at Lance CPA Group. Super excited to be with you all today. Thanks, Will, for throwing this all together. We got, you know, Gusto's done a lot of great stuff with the COVID-19, and we've done some partnership with that as well that we'll discuss later on. But really excited to be here with you all.
Cool.
And I'm Ian Vason, bringing up the bottom of the stack here. So co-founder and chief customer officer over at Karbon. Really excited about this. Really glad, Will, you put this together. I'm amazed by the YouTube Live. Just looking forward to talking through everything today. And we'll talk a little bit at the end about what sort of things we can do to help get those PPP loans and bring all this stuff together. So thanks, Will.
Yeah, thank you guys. All right, awesome. Well, let's dive into what we're going to try to cover today. We have like I said, a lot to cover, and so here's the agenda for the next 60 minutes as we're unpacking this rapid response accounting technology that is a real thing. So we're not making anything up here, and how this is going to play out into your practice life. We're actually going to cover the current U.S. business landscape. We thought this was really helpful to kind of set the tone of where we're at, because that's going to help you navigate where you're going. We're going to unpack a little bit of the recession-proof accountant. 2008 throwback here. We've been here. We've done that. We actually have a T-shirt with economic recession experience that's going on right now. And then we're going to talk about navigating the way forward. How do we actually help ourselves navigate our way forward and our clients navigate our way forward? And then we'll go into how the apps stack together, which is going to be pretty dope. We'll go into demos and everything on that side. So let's dive right into actually something that Blake put together. Our people are our greatest assets, so we just kind of want to call out the reason I think all of us here have worked pretty much day, night, and weekend, especially at Gusto and everybody else, is because people are our greatest asset, right? And Blake, I think you can speak to this. It's the biggest component to an income statement, and that's why I think all the relief has circled around the person component, right?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to think that, over $600 billion of SBA money so far that's been allocated, and it's probably going to go up to close to $1 billion, has really revolved around paychecks and employees. And I think that shows the importance that we place on our staff, our employees in this time. It's, the government is thinking about how can we keep people on payroll so that they don't get laid off or furloughed and have to go on unemployment, because those systems are overloaded. And it works out for business owners too, because nobody wants to, when this thing is over, have to go and then rehire all of our employees, because we know how difficult it can be to find those folks. So anything that we can do to help small businesses as accountants maintain through the next couple months, right? That's gonna just do so much to help the economy and our own client base. Like that's what we got to do. So couldn't agree more.
Awesome. Well, so a little bit about Gusto before we start diving in and we move along to everything. On a normal day, obviously we do some really fun stuff over here, so you can get all the right tools and services for your firm and your clients. So we're always here to help, right? Fully integrated payroll, benefits, and HR platform. And as far as accountants are concerned, and anybody that serves clients around payroll or benefits or HR, we have a partner program that you could join, dedicated team that serves your accounting practice, one login to manage all your clients, so a dedicated dashboard there, advising resources, and then obviously the revenue component, right? The sustainability component. And so really, really cool stuff at Gusto. In the new normal, which I think all of us fall into, the count is currently 18 plus. That's the count. So 18 plus is the amount of new COVID-19 related tools and bulk tools that we've created to support SMBs and accountants who rely on Gusto. And so this includes things like our in-app COVID-19 command center, account pause, deferred payment options, employee dismissal, furlough, so on and so forth. Even PPP bulk reporting. Whoa! Like you could download your PPP reports for your clients in bulk, which is pretty dope. SSS, Social Security tax deferrals, and then the COVID Resource Hub with step-by-step guides. So really, really amazing stuff that's happening in a new normal. I actually want to go down the list and just do like Blake, Josh, Ian. Like, what do you currently have unpacked at your apps regarding things that you've created for the profession?
Yeah, I guess I'm up here at the top, so I'll go first. I got random luck of the Zoom draw today. So for us, the big thing in working with Gusto is trying to figure out how can we use headcount data in our reports and dashboards and plans, because that's what Jirav is about, is driver-based financial models, forecasts that are quite sophisticated. And one of the perks of using a driver-based modeling system for building forecasts is that you can include operational data and headcount data and all that. And we previously never had an integration that brought in headcount automatically. And the folks at Gusto said, let's make this happen. Let's figure out how we can join headcount and financial data, because we pull that from QuickBooks or Xero or NetSuite. That's easy to do. Everyone does that, right? But how do we actually bring in other stuff that matters just as much, which is our headcount, and then how do we report on that? So what we did is we built this integration with Gusto, and we created a sign-up flow where you can go in and you can connect Gusto, and you can connect your QuickBooks account or your Xero account. You can pull that data in, and we've got pre-configured dashboards and reports that put a face on the financials, as I like to say.
Yeah,
so
I like
we'll
that.
show you more of that later.
Sounds good. What about you, Josh? What is PI up to as far as like resources quickly?
Yeah, so we they've really done a lot in the whole kind of business continuity space. So for firms, as you're engaging with clients, and ultimately as you're trying to get the cash flow you need to run your business, we have built some things inside our app to allow us to do that. So we created some COVID-related services. So what Will showed here with all these services that firms are doing now that they may not have done in the past, we've actually created service templates in there that you can utilize to engage with your clients and get those out there so you can work with them and ultimately get paid, whether it's even if it's not now and if it's in the future, get paid and have business continuity for your business so you can retain that cash flow in your business. You're not chasing out checks or things like that.
Nice. Yes, Ian, bring us home.
Yeah, so a couple things. One is if you haven't checked out the Gusto tools that are here, I was blown away by them. I think if you look at all folks on this particular YouTube Live, all of us were ahead of the curve, and that's been something about we've been working very hard to get those resources out. We'll look a little bit later, but our key was we're all about workflow. So what we did was for getting a PPP loan, an EIDL loan, or you're doing cash flow forecasting, or you're doing initial consults or strategy sessions. Again, we link with PI, with Practice Ignition. And again, all those workflows step by step are available so you can quickly do all those activities at scale with every one of your clients so that you can get out there, get them help, get them assistance. And hopefully going back to what we were talking about previously, getting those employees covered, taken care of, nurtured, and handled through this crisis. So back over to you, Will.
Hey, sounds awesome. So a lot of fun stuff going on, and this is where we all come in. So the number 8 on here is that access to a tech stack that now supports advisory, which helps you basically kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? So helps you scale your practice online through the cloud, work with clients remotely, and then help them navigate through everything. So let's break down the U.S. business landscape. We'll try to move through quickly here to try to give you a digest of what's going on. This is the latest and greatest of what's happening here, just stateside, right? So here's the current landscape. So SMBs, right, primarily are facing an existential threat, and I'm sure a lot of SMBs are saying, is there a way forward? Are we going to get out of this? And we're just seeing a massive onslaught of unemployment claims. So 94+% of U.S. population is living under some sort of shelter-in-place or stay-at-home order, with almost all of SMBs currently closed. 26 million. Wow. 26 million is the current number of people that have filed unemployment claims, suggesting that the unemployment rate is already above 20%. And then the shocker is 2 is the average number of months of cash on hand that a small business has in order to deal with a business shock. So, once you start getting past that 2-month mark, it starts to get even more and more accentuated as far as just the massive impact for SMBs. Ian, I'm kind of curious, what are you seeing on your side from accountants that are using Karbon around, let's say, either trying to help their clients with this cash on hand scenario?
So a couple of things. One is, let's just remember that 2 months ago, that unemployment rate was 3.5%.
Right.
Roughly, and now we're at 20. Every accountant I've spoken to is inundated with helping their existing clients to survive. They don't even have time to take on new clients. They are trying to at least be able to speak to everyone. And so they've moved down to 15-minute meetings just to get initial consult to then figure out what they can do on a cash flow side. And I think you're going to talk to this later. There's short-term and long-term strategies at place. And
right.
So right now it's how do we get everybody to at least be able to get through the crisis and then speak to how are we going to then deliver beyond that for business continuity. And so with the PPP loan being extended, now they've got twice as many hits. They had the hit 2 weeks ago where how are they going to file as quickly as possible? Again, the Gusto tools have been massively helpful. And now this week it ticked on again. And so let's not forget that tax has been delayed into the July timeframe. And so again, it's about how do you get all this work done in that short amount of time because it's been elongated.
Okay. Yeah, it's so true. So true. Sounds like we may have a little bit of some audio as far as people hearing us, but I think I fixed it and I'll turn it up here, and I think we're back in business. So my apologies there. Hey, thanks for hanging in there with with everything.
It's live, right? Can you hear us now? Is that better?
Yeah, we'll give that a shot. Let's hang there. I'd probably say speak strongly is what I would say, with confidence. All right, cool. So let's go to slide number 13. which is the timeline of the new normal. So here's this is just a quick visual, right? So no one can really tell the future, but here's kind of like what is the expected trend of where things are going. They're thinking a potential second wave of infections at the latter end of this year. So COVID-19 is not going away, right? It's here to stay. It's going to unfortunately linger for quite some time. Hopefully between now and early next year, we find some sort of vaccine or something that can really try to help curb the edge. But this is just a timeline in your mind. You're going to be navigating your clients through this entire journey. And so just be mindful that this is not a one and done. Neither is it going to be a 8-week sprint to the finish line. It's going to be a marathon for COVID-19. And I'd love for Blake to speak into this a little bit as far as the forecasting modelings that you guys are doing. I've seen your stuff with forecasting, and I think it's so dope, and I think it's really, really good. But what's your thought on the timeline and how accounts should be thinking about serving their clients through this?
Yeah, I had not seen this chart before, but it definitely lines up with what I'm seeing is happening. So at Jirav, we're, as I mentioned, about financial modeling, and so one of my sort of side projects during this whole time has been trying to take what the epidemiologists are saying in their very complex models that we can't access, and putting that into a language that accountants understand, which is spreadsheets. So over on the Jirav blog, I've got a few blog posts that I did where I built a model using the basic epidemiological viral equation. It's just multiplication, really. And I modeled that out right in columns for the rest of the year. And at this point, while I would love to say that things could be done in 2 months or whatnot, it looks like it's going to be a very slow, gradual reopening. And given that, and who cares what the issue is with the tests? We don't have enough tests. And so the reality of the situation is that this is going to be a very long reopening, and I think ultimately the strategy is not going to be a development of a vaccine in 6 months, which is going to be a miracle, right? Like, we're going to have to just obtain herd immunity through this virus, which means that everybody is going to eventually get infected with it. The good news is that it actually doesn't appear to be as deadly as we thought. So it's like everybody's going to get the flu, and it's going to take a long time for that to happen, probably to the end of the year. So businesses, right, to bring this back to what this means for businesses, they need to plan longer than 2 months. We can't just be doing 13-week cash flow forecasts. We need to be planning out for a drawdown over the rest of the year, and probably impacts into next year as well. And I think the best course as a CPA, at least in my opinion, is to be completely upfront and honest and plan for the worst. And maybe we get lucky and things go back to normal in a couple months, but I just don't see it, because even if we relax controls, there's going to be a significant percentage of the population that still is not going to want to go out and do stuff. Yeah. So we got to plan for it.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more.
Sorry to be a downer.
No, a Blakey downer. So, I mean, that kind of leads into whether or not we've actually been through this.
You're on mute, Will.
Oh, sorry. There we go. This also plays into whether or not, have we been here before? Is this something that accountants actually have a black belt in regarding like an economic downturn, some recession issues? And luckily, if memory serves us all right, we've not at this level as far as like the country totally shutting down, but from a recession standpoint, we've been here pretty potently during 2008 and 2010 during the Great Recession. And this is where the recession-proof accountant really came out of. And so I wanted to break this down as so we are a resilient profession, and the accounting profession has, like I said, been there, done that, and owns a T-shirt around this. And two terms actually came out of the Great Recession that pertain to accounting professionals. Number one, it was flat as up, and the second was the recession-proof accountant. And what's interesting, the background behind flat as up is that the profession at large would have gladly settled for year-over-year flat gross revenues, and that's exactly what they achieved between 2008 and 2011. So year over year, there were flat revenues, even though the profession actually took a huge talent hit. I think the average percentage was something between 42 and 46% of talent was churned in the accounting profession within that period of time. So literally, half of the workforce, half of a firm's workforce got obliterated because of the recession, but yet the profession at large was able to maintain revenues year over year, which is pretty staggering. And I'm going to unpack why that is and why we all flew together to try to support the accounting profession at large. And then the recession-proof accountant was basically, not because of COVID-19, but because of cutting costs. A majority of accountants actually flocked to at-home offices to battle the downturn. And so they curbed the cost and implemented new methods and solutions, turning the recession into a major advantage against competitors and against just the event itself. And here's a great quote that I pulled from Tammy Paxton, CPA, back in November 2018 or 2008. She said, "If you want some freedom and the opportunity to control your destiny, then go for it. There seems to be plenty of work to go around due to the downturn." And so I would say there's plenty of work today because of legislation that just flew out at like tons of weight, both federal, state, and local. Here's also another great quote from the AICPA, but it's they were reflecting back in 2009. They said the good news from all of this is that there will be an ever increasing need for accountants. There are many opportunities for growth. There are many ways you can assist businesses during this time of change and uncertainty. And I mean, that's very familiar language for all of us right now, right? Which is really, really interesting when you go back and you see where we were during the Great Recession. And so here were some of the strategies that accountants used during the Great Recession. And so I pulled the top 5 and summarized them into these top 5. So these were things that accounting firms implemented within their own practice, and they helped their clients navigate through. They focused on retention. They had myopic practice development skills. They improved their workflows. They went deep in community engagement, and they streamlined their receivables. And what was interesting is during the Great Recession, the firms did what we're currently doing now, right? You're totally fixated on all your book of business, your entire clients. You're probably not accepting new clients at the moment because the workload has shot through the roof. And so they spent more time with existing clients then. They found more ways and newer ways to better serve their clients or the existing industries that they served. Within the practice, they were really myopic about what they were doing. They were aggressively targeting a niche that their expertise complemented. And they were always looking for additional work or asking clients for additional work and observing new growth markets and opportunities, right? What's the new growth market nowadays? It's all online, right? So who are the winners of COVID-19, right? Zoom, Peloton, any virtual tool that helps you practice remotely and streamline workflows. They improved workflows, so they refined and restructured firm processes. They built more remote efficiencies, which is really interesting because the tech today did not exist as tech then. So we're in a much better position today than I think we ever had been then. And then to help automate some of the productivity while adopting new tech. And then as a community, we went deep as a profession. So we actually engaged in pro-to-pro accountability groups. There were some that I found back in 2019, which were not on Facebook, but they were like forums that were kind of like Facebook and LinkedIn that where pros kind of share tips with each other and try to help each other collapse the learning curves of things that were being adopted. And then the last thing was they streamlined the receivables. So even though like right now as a profession, we're showing sensitivity to clients because they're beleaguered from this whole event, one of the tactics post or kind of mid-recession was that they billed poorly realizing clients sooner, speeding up collections through tech and methods. So they didn't fire clients, right? You don't want to do that in an economic recession. You want to keep that revenue stream. That's how the profession actually achieved Flat is Up. They didn't fire anyone, but what they did was they streamlined their receivable collection, which helped improve the cash flow and keep the firm afloat. So I'll stop there. I'd love to get everybody's feedback on all of this. I don't know if any of you have actually done research on this, but this is really interesting to me because what was done back then is eerily similar to what we're doing now.
Well, I just want to add one thing, which is probably that the Peloton wife is really happy about her husband's gift, these days.
You said that, not me.
I think for me, I think back to the Great Recession. I also think back to 1998, 99, and then I can go back to the 94, where we've seen this multiple times. There was two things that come to mind that I remember that accountants said. One was do more with less. And so it was a situation where you had a lot of staff that were gone, and how are you going to be able to do the same job you were doing before, but with less bodies to do it? And so that goes to your middle points there on myopic and improved workflows. But the other one was let's do where the concept was less is more. When I'm able to be more focused and I'm able to hone into a smaller group, then I can do more with them, but do it for less folks, less clients. And that allows for me to be more efficient and to provide a higher charge rate and then deliver better outcomes. And so those two words, while it's flipped, were very crucial and key in those earlier timeframes. And you mentioned community engagement. I remember back in those days, I was working at Intuit, and there were whole groups of folks that were sharing. There's plenty of work to go around, even within the same city that you're in. And it was, how do we do this collectively and quicker with higher quality with less work and tied to it? And so that community is strong now. It'll be stronger at the end of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we are, 35 minutes past the hour. We'll try to go move a little quicker here so we can get to some of the demo work. But here's just some things to take note, right? So make sure that you're accounting for resilience, play on words here. From sustainability to practice resilience really clarifies the roles accountants already play, whether or not you're leaning into it. So make sure you're asking those future-proofing questions to yourself, right? Like what is going right and what is going wrong right now at your practice, and ask those same questions 4 months from now. What manual process gaps need to be filled through technology in order to manage the future crisis, or a future crisis, or the current crisis? What pieces of cloud tech were used, and how efficient did it make you? What did engagement workarounds maintain the quality of work? And so here's just some stats from I believe it was a collaboration piece between Sage and the AICPA, but they did a global study of 3,000 accounting professionals, and just 85% of accountants believe that profession needs to pick up the pace of technology adoption in advisory offerings in order to stay competitive, right? Nothing new here. This has been a mantra for a good 10 plus years. And then this is an interesting stat. This is pre-COVID, by the way. 49% of accountants have formally examined their business practices in the last year for future-proofing themselves. So we were already thinking through a lot of this. And then just here's a quote from Jennifer that just says, accountants are at different stages of technology adoption. I don't believe this is pre-COVID, by the way. I don't believe this is as much of a cost issue as it is a fully understanding the return on investment. And as technology advances and becomes more robust, what we see now as emerging technology will soon become the norm, and then accountants will be able to more clearly see the positive impact of their firm and their customers. And obviously, this crisis paints a clear picture as far as like a positive impact. So let's navigate the way forward. We'll move through this a little quickly so we can get to the demo work. Just some recommendations from us to you. Bring calm to your clients, right? Stay thoughtful, scope new habits, PPP, EIDL now, and then be realistic. Staying thoughtful just means that, a lot of people make hasty decisions. Especially when they're cash strapped or they're thinking about the financial stressors, but make sure you're making a good decision and helping your client stay thoughtful as well. Scoping new habits actually played into the Flat is Up habits. That is, what are your clients' new habits? Obviously for Josh, he wrote a blog piece for Gusto about how restaurants can pivot during the crisis. Get funding right now for your clients and for yourselves. If you've gotten it, terrific, but there's still some pain point around this. And so just kind of work through it be patient, show stability with clients in the moment, and then be realistic, really, right? So after you've searched for creative solutions, if you've given yourself time to plan, you're likely still going to need to make hard decisions now and later. And so here's just surfacing some new opportunities in this new normal. I actually went out and combed an entire landscape of content that has recently come out the past 10 days of other accounting professionals trying to already start thinking about making sure their practices are resilient and recession proof. And so immediate opportunities are things like cash flow forecasting services, right? Working capital optimization, interesting one, pension covenant advisory services, growth niche consulting, right? Bankruptcy consulting, supply chain, app stack recommendations. So accounts are actually now recommending solutions so that way they could get their clients into those solutions to help curb the crisis. But then they are priming the pump for implementation, which are the soon-to-come opportunities, right? So then you get into that app stack implementation advisory services, future-proofing your clients. Reopening business consulting services is actually really different this go-around than it was last go-around. I don't know if anyone's read, Georgia released a 6-pager on the requirements and the things that the wellness industry, like beauty and salon and barber shops, should consider when they reopen. And it looks like opening up a new business entirely from scratch again. And so clients will need assistance on that side to help think through what are the business practices that they need to get themselves into. And so you actually have the opportunity to start thinking very holistically as far as the business journey after we start opening back up, because it's going to be it's going to be drastically different than what you're seeing today. And so here's kind of like a timeline of what people are thinking. The front, 1 quarter end of the crisis is this day 1 to 3+ months after engagement with your client. That is, you start having these conversations, start building this roadmap, and start hopefully getting your clients' business saved and getting them on the roadmap. And in the back 3/4 end of the crisis is this 3+ to 18 months after the immediate needs, right? So the immediate needs right now are just getting them funding, doing the forecasting, working remotely, pivoting to try to generate revenue to offset, the headwinds. After 3 months, you're going to have to still think about how to keep them in that state of winning, right? And keep that in that state of constant business continuity on their side. And so that's basically paves the way to activating new opportunities through this tech stack. So this is where the tech stack was actually born out of, was to help you adjust not only to today's environment, but then tomorrow's environment as well. And so thank you, Ian, for putting this visual together, but this is kind of how it all goes together. We'll unpack how the stack works, but you could initiate with Practice Ignition, which is the onboarding and the scoping of these services. Whether or not you're charging now, doesn't matter. You can at least lock in engagement letters and charge later if you wish to do something like that. You analyze with Jirav, cash flow needs, PPP needs, EIDL needs, manage all those processes remotely through Karbon, all powered by Gusto, which handles the funding source end of things, and the resource hub, and kind of like what I've been calling the command COVID center, which is the bulk tools to collapsing the learning curve of not only the federal legislation, but then the state legislation that your clients are in. So let's do this. Let's see how these apps stack together. And then we'll go into some demo work, which is going to be pretty dope. As far as Gusto is concerned, I'm actually not going to do a demo. I'm going to let everybody else do a demo. You actually have a COVID-19 tab. So if you're a current Gusto partner, awesome. You log into your partner dashboard, and on the left-hand side, you'll see a COVID-19 tab. And this is the resource hub that we've created, the command center to what's going on right now with COVID-19 and the economic recession. And this will collapse every learning curve around federal legislation, state legislation, and municipal. We have a stellar team on our side that's keeping this evergreen and constantly updated. But you'll see tiles on your dashboard that actually lets you download the bulk PPP reports. You'll see the app stack recommendations inside that. That's where PI and Karbon and Jirav live currently in Gusto, which is the practicing remotely toolkit there. And all the latest information inside that dashboard. You'll also see a filtering mechanism to filter state and local legislation and relief. And so it'll include things like financial relief resources, tax relief, private relief. And so all those areas are outlined inside the COVID command center that you can access to, which is pretty amazing. Kudos to everyone at Gusto that's just been working day and night to keep that up to date. So let's, I'm actually going to skip this. I'm going to go straight to Jirav. Jirav, Blake, tell us what you got, and then what we'll do is you just share your screen on your side, and I'll make sure it's set here visually for the audience to enjoy.
All right, sounds good. Let's see. I cannot share. The other participant is sharing.
Oh, okay. Let me stop.
So there we go.
But go ahead. Tell us while I get this unshared.
Sure. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we built an integration in collaboration with Gusto that allows you to bring headcount into your plans and reports and dashboards, and then essentially pivot that data like you would in Excel against your accounting information, your financials. And so I'm going to show you what that would look like if you were to click that link inside of Gusto. You can go take a look.
All right, so let's see here. Hold on real quick. Let me just get it set for us.
No worries. And one thing I would add while you're doing that is, one thing that I've been hearing a lot in the communities that I'm part of, right, of what I like to call cloud accountants, people who have taken their practice and made it completely cloud. The folks who have practice ignition for their proposals, who have Karbon for their practice management, who are using Jirav for their reporting and modeling, and using QuickBooks or Xero and Gusto, they haven't really actually been all that impacted themselves. These firms are continuing to operate in a large part the way they used to. It's kind of amazing. And then you see the firms that are still using on-premise, servers and having to still go into the office. I think I saw a recent survey that like 8% of firms are still having to go into the office. They can't do anything remotely because they never did it. So that's causing some serious issues. All right, so it looks like we got the screen share going. So this is the page that you'll get to. You can start a free trial of our Jirav Pro product that gives you full access to the financial modeling technology. So you can connect your Gusto account. When you go in there, I'll show you what you see. This is our actual screen. This is where you can come in and you can connect your accounting system. So you would connect Xero, or you connect QuickBooks or NetSuite. They're already connected, so that's why these are grayed out. And then you'd go ahead and connect your Gusto, and I've done that for my sample data. And if at any point I want to just refresh it, I can do that manually, or it'll happen automatically every night. So in this case, I've brought in my 2019 data, and I'm going through March 31st. And staff is also being imported, so I can go ahead and refresh that as well. And then our little giraffe friend is applying those changes there.
That's pretty funny.
We like our animations too, Will. I love the little walking penny pig in Gusto. So it's been really fun for me because I was a long-time Zen payroll user before it was Gusto. So I go way back, and being able to actually work for a company that has an integration is pretty spectacular. And this is the hazards of live demos. Is I'm waiting for our giraffe to continue to keep. Okay, there we go. We got it. All right, good. So once you've done that, here's what your dashboard might look like. And this company is called Penny's Pen Pals. And I've got a monthly dashboard, and I've got some per employee KPIs. And what Jirav is doing right now is basically pivoting all that data. So here we go. Here's my monthly dashboard. If you've ever utilized a dashboard app or something that gets data into charts, right? Maybe you've built your own in Excel. This would be very familiar. We've got standard KPIs, standard charts like change in cash, AP versus previous period, AR. There's a really neat little income statement chart that shows your cash balance running along here, and you can of course display projected future stuff. And we got your typical stuff, cost of goods sold, revenue. One thing that's really neat is you can create your own. You can do whatever you want inside of Jirav. We don't limit you. So you can compare actuals or a budget to another budget, or goals or a plan of record. You can change the periodicity of this thing or the range that you want to check out, and you can define your own custom ranges. It's pretty slick. So for instance, if I wanted to, let's say I want to compare my gross margin to the previous year, so the same month but in the past year. Now I've got that, and I've got data for January, February, March, so that's showing here, and it's done. And if I want to add more more of these charts or tiles, as we call them, pretty easy to do. Here's what we built for Gusto to show that off. These are per employee KPIs. So this is taking your revenue and dividing it by your head count, right? That's easy for us to do because we've now got that data here in Jirav. And we've defined some custom KPIs to do this. Margin per employee, OPEX per employee, all that stuff. So for instance, take a look at this, revenue per employee. I've got this charted out here, and you can see how it's been declining, but then it kind of stabilized in March. I'm going to really keep an eye on this for my client in the next few months, because we really need to make sure that we have the headcount to support our revenue, right?
And you can include even the loans that you get through PPP and EIDL in this cash flow forecasting, right?
Yeah, so that's the next part here. I'll just skip straight to it because I know we don't have a ton of time.
Yeah.
It's the plans. So the real power of Jirav is the ability to build a pro forma financial statement into the future. So your three-way financial statements, income statement, balance sheet statement, cash flows, all tie together in Jirav, and you can do just all the stuff that you would normally do in an Excel financial model. You can do here pretty much. So for instance, here's my revenue, right? And my revenue cuts off in March because, hey, April hasn't happened yet. But what if I wanted to build a driver for revenue into the future? I can add a driver, and then I can say, well, just to get started, I'm going to go ahead and look at 12 months ago, and I'm just going to use that. All right. Well, now I'm taking my April 19, and that is my April 20 revenue. Okay. That's what we tend to do a lot when we budget, is we just take last year. But that isn't necessarily going to work now that things have changed. So maybe I need to do something different. Now, this example is going to increase revenue because I built this out before COVID, but you could basically do the same thing if you wanted to, and you could decrease the revenue. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to multiply my revenue last year by a KPI I've already defined, which is called trailing 3 months versus previous year growth percentage. So I don't have time to get into it, but what I'm doing here is I'm referencing a year ago, taking the 3-month period. So this would be February, March, and April, averaging those, and then dividing that by my revenue in the same period this year to get a growth percentage, right? So it's like a trended or a moving average growth percentage for revenue. So what I can do is I can multiply by that, and it's actually going to show my revenue now growing versus, so I'm using my data from last year, but I'm trending it based on how my revenue has grown in the last few months. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty neat, and that's just sort of one example. You could also build out revenue models that utilize headcount. So, for instance, we could change this revenue driver, and we could say that, I'm going to reference my cumulative headcount, and you can see here that we've got my cumulative headcount showing up now. And I'm going to say that, just for simplicity's sake, that every person on my team generates, I don't know, what was it? What was a reasonable number? Let's say it's $2,000 of revenue per month or something. So now you can see here, this is projecting out revenue based on a head count. And I've got like a staffing plan. So if I build out a staffing plan, my revenue will then flow from that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And you can get really detailed. You can do it by role, department, all that stuff. So, that's the power of modeling, is you're not just using historical data and trying to figure out what's going to happen based on some, fixed percentage amount. That works really well in stable times because we can expect revenue is going to grow 5%, OPEX is going to grow X%. in times like this, the whole business model is called into question. We just have no idea what's going to happen. So you need to like redo your revenue model essentially. And then once you've done that, you can also, you could book a loan in here. So you could say, I got a $100,000 PPP loan, and then you can model out the cash flows from that. So I can say, I got to start paying that back in 6 months. Here's what the payments are going to be. Here's what the interest is going to be. And you can model that out until you're zero. Or if you expect to get a certain percentage forgiven, you can put that in there too. So, and if you want to see something like that, come to the Jirav site, or actually you can just sign up for a free trial here at jirav.com/connectgusto, and then schedule some time with us, and we'll show you how you do all that. It is a little tricky, because it's driver-based modeling is complex, and normally you got to be an Excel wizard to know how to do it. But with Jirav, most people can figure it out in like half a day. So
love it. Thank you for that.
No, thanks. I never did any modeling until I started working at Jirav, really, and I figured out how to do it. So I think any CPA can.
Nice. Well, good.
Right.
Well, for the sake of time, Josh, do you mind just showing your screen and showing everybody what PI has put together around COVID? I think you're muted.
While Josh is doing that, since I've used both Gusto and Practice Ignition as an accountant in practice, I feel very comfortable saying like everybody should sign up for both.
Nice.
I never got to use Karbon though, Ian. Not yet.
All right. So I wanted to kind of walk you through here. This is the landing page actually when you go through Gusto and you click on where it has your tech stack there, and you click on Practice Ignition, it pops up here. One, I just want to show that from a standpoint of you can save money in Practice Ignition by going through this link there and get started. But I want to kind of walk you through the software real quick here. We built out this landing page here. When you get in here, that kind of walks you through getting the setup. So walks through all the steps of drafting your first proposal, getting your branding set up, uploading your engagement letter, and automating your invoice and payments. So the software, how it works here is fairly straightforward and simple. What we want to do is create a proposal with services that we have and send it out to our clients that get engaged and ultimately get paid. One of the things that we did here with our partnership here with Gusto is we've actually created a set of COVID-related services. So if you click in the service library and then click on business continuity COVID-19, you can actually import these services in. And these are some of the things that Will had brought up previously there about doing cash flow forecasting, or you're kind of helping out on figuring out what the best course of action is for their business, or even stuff like HR advisor, things that you may not have done in the past, but you're doing now because you were forced into it. So just by simply doing that, I can forward in the services. It drops in here. You can see these under the business continuity planning. So if I want to go ahead and create a proposal for our client here, all I need to do is click on this new proposal button. It's going to walk me through some steps here on how I go about doing this. So simply I can say, hey, this is going to be some accounting services that we're doing for them. I'm going to search for a client here. Let's go with Red Brick Brewing here. And then I just need to go in here and pick a date time frame here. So maybe it's I'm going to start this month, and we're going to run it for 12 months, or I can just do it for a month period of time, or whatever period of time you want to do. Go ahead and set that time frame in there. Next, I'm going to drop in the services that we want to do. So if I want to do some of those business continuity services, like maybe I want to do some cash flow planning using Jirav, I can add that in here, add a price. We can pick the billing type or how we want this to be billed. So whether it's on acceptance, when they accept the proposal, we're going to bill them. On completion, when the proposal and activity or project is done, or on a recurring basis. So we're going to be doing this on a regular basis for them. We can go ahead and charge them on a recurring basis and bill them on a monthly, monthly bill or a weekly bill by doing that. I'm adding a couple more services here just so you can kind of see what all we have here. So maybe I'll do some accounting services. I'm gonna do that on recurring. We're gonna charge $500 for that. And then maybe I'm gonna do a tax service here. So we have different tax services already set up here for different tax return types. You can update these with all the information you want. In here, this kind of text box, this is kind of comes in from the service library. We can update this for particularities of that particular client. Maybe it's they have multi-states or something like that that I need to update there. And I'm going to do that one on acceptance there. So I'm going to save those services. That are. And then I just need to put in my engagement letter terms here. So the kind of terms, conditions that you have, that legalese that you need to add in there, we can drop that in here as well. And then if I want to drop in a brochure, so some information about our company, I can also put in an introduction video. So if you're using Loom or Vimeo or YouTube, I can add those links in here to get a introduction video. And then finally, send out payments. So the key part here and why this is really important for businesses from a business continuity standpoint, if you're looking to kind of put your own oxygen mask on first, it's we want to make sure you get paid so you can take care of your team and that you can have a business that's still helping your clients. It doesn't do your clients any good if you run out of cash and you can't serve them anymore. So we can get our payment set up here, and then I'm just going to create this proposal. And then once I get this done, I'm just going to send that out to the client. And then they can go and accept. If I want to see how they look at it on their end, I'm just going to click on this client portal here. This is going to pop up what it looks like on the client end. So they're going to see our nice information about our company, learn more about us here. That's in here. All the services that we talked about and listed in there is listed here in the service summary. Then we lays out the payment schedule. So anything that's billed on acceptance, on monthly recurrent, or on a service completion is all listed out in here. And then they can add in their payment details here. So either doing with an instant verification through Plaid or doing the micro deposits or just dropping their credit card, they can save that in there. And then they can go ahead into the next step here and sign this. So all the terms and conditions are in here. They can accept that, type their name in, and then they can go ahead and accept the proposal. So that's just a quick, real high overview here. We do have some good integrations, particularly with Karbon, which Ian's going to talk about, and how they do the workflows. This would trigger those workflows once they accept those engagements in practice submission. So with that, I will hand it over to you.
Yeah, excellent. Ian, you want to bring us home? It's okay for us to be over the hour because we're live. That's what's good about being live.
I'm going to bring up my screen. So can you guys see it? All good?
Yep.
So again, just following the same line of where everybody else is, you can go to karbonhq.com/gusto. Here you can access all of the workflows that we have for navigating COVID-19. You can also sign up for an extended trial. So for Gusto, you get a 30-day trial to give it a test out. I'm going to pick up right where Josh just ended off. So here's Practice Ignition, and here you would go ahead and you can ultimately go into the apps area. And once it's connected, you can actually connect all of your workflows directly to the service lines that you would have gotten from their templates. And that allows for, on that signature, Karbon to automatically create all the work automatically within your workflow engine so you can actually get this all done. And so I'm just going to here. This is what Karbon looks like. It is a marriage between your communications and your workflow. So it brings in all of your email. It's deeply integrated. So I may have had a question come in from a client here. It's myself, but we won't question if you're talking to yourself, but I can go in here and I might be able to look for this. This might be for some cash flow work that we're doing actually for a company called Jirav. That's the one that he just signed. I can go associate the work there. I can see that now I've got all my communications in one place where we're actually managing these things. Now up here, again, this is what work looks like. And again, we've got all these templates that allow for you to be able to manage what's going on within this, okay? If I take a step back and I go and look at work overall, I can see everything that's coming in from Practice Ignition. So this is the queue of all work that's been generated automatically from Josh and his team, where we've actually done a package where we've got our cash flow, we're going to use Jirav, we've got our EIDL loans and PPP. That's what this particular client needs. Now, if I go in to look at Jarvis as a collective, I can see every communication, all the work items we've got going on for them, as well as any other details. And if I go back, I can start to look at things collectively for my firm. So up here, you've got all these different dashboards you can do. I can look at all work in the firm, and we've got 800 work items. It's not necessarily as helpful. I might want to look at all the business loan work that we've got going on. And now I can see where we are, who's doing what, and how we're progressing across getting all that finished. So I know which ones to pick up, which ones to chase down, and ultimately what items that maybe I'm going to be working on. So maybe I want to further narrow this down. Again, everything in here is pretty darn dynamic and allows for me to see, okay, this one's in assembly stage.
Let's go ahead and take a look at this one here on this PPP one, or maybe some of the other ones here as well. Now, behind the scenes on this, what we talked about for rapid response and enablement, there are all these templates that allow for you to be able to do the work. There's a little bit more here because we, globally overall, but let's take a look at one for cash flow. So let's go look over at cash flow here with Jirav. So what it's meant to be here is Karbon's how you do the work. It's not how, it's ultimately the how, the actual procedures, not where you do the work. So again, if we're talking about cash flow advisory, we might be stepping through, ready to start, prepping the books, ultimately getting it to a point where we can jump down here and ultimately do the financial statement analysis and cash flow projections. And you can instantly go ahead from Karbon and you can jump in to those other systems. Log on in, and then you can actually manage all that and do that within Jirav itself. Again, similarly, if let's say we're going down a situation here where we are actually using and completing a PPP loan, well, let's go into here. And again, let's look at here, we're going to be using for the PPP down below. We're going to be down here in Gusto. And again, I'm going to go to that dashboard straight within Gusto. And that way I can get to my details, see how much I'm going to get, and ultimately be able to use that command center overall. And so Karbon brings all of your work into one place, allows for you and everybody else in your firm to be able to determine, what you need to be working on, what you need to be focusing on, and instantly be able to navigate that and then get into the details to ultimately get that work done. That is the quickest, Will, that I can do. Bring us back on time, my friend. But again, if you want to check it all out, again, Karbon brings it all together. Jirav is an amazing tool, guys. I've seen it, and actually we use it internally to actually bring, and if you want to do true what-if analysis, which you can't necessarily do other place else, that is what the sort of cash flow advisory and work you need to be done. And PI allows for you to be able to initiate and make sure that you're doing, even if you have to do things on discount or if you have to do things pro bono, keep track of all that because you're going to be wanting to capitalize on that after the fact. And then Gusto's brought all of this together. And again, we're big users of Gusto. So I love Gusto. So I shall.
Awesome. Well, that was really good. Thank you so much for that. Let me actually get us back on track here. Where am I? There we go. So thank you so much for joining us. I know we're 4 minutes past the hour, but hey, thanks for enjoying a live session. I'm sure you're probably working and doing things off to the side and listening to us ramble on about the amazing stuff that we've created to help you out. Quickly, like I said, down in the comments below or down in the description below, you'll see the hyperlinks or the URL links, the websites that you can go to activate Jirav, activate Practice Ignition, and activate Karbon, along with Gusto if you wish. And so ultimately, we're just here to make sure that you have everything you need to, once again, handle today's environment, survive tomorrow's environment. What's really good about these solutions overall is that we were doing what we were doing before COVID. We're doing the same thing that we're doing in the midst of COVID, and we'll continue to add that value past COVID. So these are solutions that can put you in a great spot to future-proof your practice, get everything integrated and automated together, and then help you exit this whole event, hopefully in about 12 months' time, 18 months' time, better off today than you were, 2 years ago. So that's what's really good about gleaning from the past. The biggest takeaway from the past is that firms that pivoted and that adopted the technology of the time actually came out ahead as a practice as a result of all that effort. So we're here to help you out. So thank you so much for subscribing to us and watching this channel. Of course, at Gusto, we always say stay connected, keep advising. We're here to help. So check us out on YouTube or check out those URL links down below. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.